Greetings friends, I'm going to show you my displacement trick. Now this trick is well documented on the web. It's well documented on the web. I used it a lot. I think it's pretty good actually. So what it does is, if you've got something you've drawn like this, even if it's one layer, what you can do is set up a document a bit like this to map out all the elements in grey in different distances, and then what you can use that for is a displacement map in After Effects. Sometimes I also cut these into planes in After Effects as well, into different 3D layers and stuff, and cut them out that way. Whatever. Anyway, all it is, basically layer by layer, what I do is I select all the elements. So as you can see, there's the bear. Basically all I'm doing is filling them with grey in this folder. So they're separate from the original image. So make a new layer, grab your quick select tool, this one. Grab the area that you want to fill. Maybe something a bit like this. I missed the fin, but you get the idea. The more accurate they are, the better it will probably look. There we go. Missing his little ear. There you go. And you would just fill that with a grey. Fill that with a grey. That's that part done. So if you look at my final thing though, I start at white from the front, relatively black towards the back. The ground should be like a gradient, so white to grey, and the background probably should be as flat as possible. So the difference between this building and this building should be very, very minimal, okay? Otherwise you'll get weird distortion and stuff. Anyway, once you're done, you save this document and bring it into After Effects. Make sure we choose composition retain layers. You'll get something a bit like this. Open it up and you'll have this displacement map. What we're going to do, we're going to go inside of the folder. So this is the folder from Photoshop, and we're going to make a new adjustment layer. I'm going to call that blur probably. We're going to add a fast blur effect to it, a bit like this. Crack the number up, maybe around 80. Make sure you tick this one on. Go back in your composition, make sure the displacement is off. Make a new adjustment layer above your image. This one is called displacement. Displacement. There we go, that's a correct spelling. And what we do is we add the effect distort, and then displacement map. When you use that, you want to set the two drop downs to luminance, this one. Now, with the displacement, what you need to do, make sure it is referencing the displacement map, which is the first one, which is your folder basically. So otherwise it will not work, okay? What you can do is you can actually rotate the image around. So what you could do, you could animate this left to right very, very slightly. Now you probably need to tweak the grays a bit, but you could go left to right a bit, or you can do stuff like up and down. So it looks like it's cinematically moving and stuff. And this is really good if you keyframe it. So just to give you an example, over a period of 2 seconds, I'm just gonna push it upwards so my bear goes up, like we're looking up at the bear. There we go. So like the ground plane shifting and stuff. It's really good for slow motion type effects. Just to make it more obvious, I'm gonna put them very, very close together. You'll see straight away what I mean. You can get away with pushing it quite far actually, you'd be surprised. Adding a little bit of tilt as well. The only problem with the tilt is, in this case, it's actually tilting the buildings off. So might actually avoid that one. We might just add this guy on a little bit. And it also distorts the edges, so I guess use it sparingly. The reason being that if you look at the displacement map itself, it's actually a big blob, so it can't figure out the edges. You probably could blur off each element individually if you wanted sharper edges, I guess. Now, what else could you do with this? You could also let's have a look. We might actually just extend the time out just a little bit, so it happens in a second or whatever. But what we'll do is we'll drag that composition into a new one. What you could do also is split this into little bits in 3D space. So what I mean by that is grab your mask tool and maybe you actually do this sort of thing where you sort of maybe we'll just really roughly chop it up into bits. And if they're all at different positions, for example, by the way, there's a good script for this. It's called PT Multiplane. That one's really good because it will match things up exactly, but you'll get the idea anyway. So what I'm doing here is I'm moving it a little away from the camera, so towards the camera rather, this piece. So if I just turn these other layers off, I've just separated these bits out. And I might do the same on the other side of this image. So maybe I'll just have something a bit like this maybe. So this might be the mid ground, and both of these masks I'm going to feather a bit. It's not going to look great if I push it too far though, because it's feathered. You get the idea anyway. So this might be the mid ground. Maybe this foreground I will have on a layer above, and that will just help give you a little bit of extra depth probably. Maybe something a bit like this. This guy we're going to move forwards more than whatever I move this one, and then I'll just scale it down to match back in. So maybe this one is about 120, then I just scale it back down, man. Something like that. So very roughly like that. And the background I'm going to leave for the moment. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a camera in actually. So add your camera in, and then I'm going to put it at the top just for demo purposes. And then you can do stuff like, maybe not quite subtle enough, but you can also do little moves like this with the camera. So if you're very subtle, you can get away with quite a bit actually. If you move around, you might get a little bit of parallax. Now, sometimes with stuff like this, if you hit, I think it's Command Option O, yeah, Command Option O, and orient certain things towards the camera. So that may or may not help. What it does is it keeps it flat in relation to the camera. Always facing the camera, exactly. So let's have a look. It's probably not exactly what I wanted. Nope, that's entirely not what I want for this one. That particular option's really good for green screen actually, in my opinion, like when you're compositing and stuff. Anyway, gonna turn that off. Gonna make the difference quite a bit larger. So this foreground image I'm gonna move up quite a bit in space. Something a bit like that. So now if I move my camera, you will definitely see the difference. So if we feather that foreground one off a bit more, maybe we can get away with quite a bit more. We'll find out. Maybe something a bit like that. Try moving the camera again. Yeah. So now you're getting a bit of 3D-ness to the foreground, and that helps sell the illusion as well. What we might do is also do that for the midground. So what's the difference between them? So this one is at 321 for position. We might move him about maybe 29 or something like that. And then we'll just scale him up a bit. Yep, that's good enough for me. And now we might animate in a camera move as well. So we might just grab our camera and we'll just animate it to stop where the other one does, wherever that is. move right to here. By the way, if you're working with multiple compositions, what you can actually do is if you mouse over one at that exact time and go to the other comp, it actually matches it up. So I'm still at the exact same time. Super handy. So what we might do, we might add a bit of twist to this shot. Like that. And we'll see what it looks like. There we go. Now there is some distortion and stuff going on. If you made it more subtle, like over a period of time, it will probably look better. But it's a good quick way to add a little bit of motion to your scenes and such. There we go, maybe a bit more like that. So I've just pushed it to be more like over 4 seconds, so it's more like a subtle, dramatic pan over the image. There we go. And I'll just play it back in full speed. While it's doing that though, I will sing a song. Do 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 do. No, I won't sing a song. I'll just wait for it to go. So if we play this back, you can see we're getting some crazy distortion. You probably tweak this quite a bit. You get the idea.